Best aiming style is pre-aim. It is consistent. Flicking relies on reflexes/muscle memory, which is never really perfect. Pre-aiming can be perfected. Look at players like Nico or Brax in his prime. I massively disagree that Nico is a flick aimer. Just look at some of his Deagle clips. He doesn't need to move his mouse.
Hold in B aggro.
Dead pop, one more pop.
Out mid.
And one pop.
I'm coming pop. Nice Nico. Nice.
If he mentions Nico but doesn't mention someone like Santares, then I can tell he doesn't know anything. You know, there is a Turkish pro player with nickname Santares. He usually streams a lot on Twitch with 5 to 10k audience and he plays a lot of Faceit Pro League. Whenever I watch his streams, he usually plays a lot according to his flicks, and maybe 80 or even 90% of his skills are only flicks. A lot of people say that you shouldn't learn playing like him, but unfortunately I haven't heard a single argument why. Guys, please try to get my point. You should not only rely on flicks, but it's definitely worth practicing it, because if you only rely on pre-aiming or pre-firing, you're very limited. Nico uses both of pre-aiming and flicking, and there are a lot of examples from him using both of those aiming techniques. Hello people, it's the biggest virgin of the internet, and today we're gonna learn the most reliable and consistent aiming style, pre-aiming. Let's begin. Since Valve added 7-day trade lock, the only currency in Steam trading market that was not affected by this trade lock issue were Dota 2 and TF2 items. That's why the sponsor of today's video is Dota 2 Expert. The website started working in 2015, so by easy calculations, if my math is correct, it works for almost 5 years. The website is 100% legit and using real random.org keys to pick the winners. You can switch between 7 languages, so if you're a retard like me who barely speaks English, you can switch to your native language. Also, the support responds in a very short period of time. Dota Expert. There are more experts in Dota than HaiX in virginity. Wait, what? Who wrote this? Pre-aiming, the most reliable and consistent aiming style. Pre-aiming is the ability to visualize and place your crosshair on positions where ahead of your opponents could possibly be. Sounds pretty easy, but in reality the things are not that easy. I divide pre-aiming in 2 styles or techniques, whatever you want to call it. Number 1, keyboard pre-aiming. Basically, the name speaks for itself. It's when you don't use your mouse to pre-aim, you're only placing your crosshair and then only use strafing to pre-fire the possible location of your enemy. It requires a lot of experience and practice, but not as much as Style 2. And Style 2 is mouse pre-aiming. This one requires not only visualizing and placing your crosshair in theoretical enemy location, but mechanical skill of moving your mouse if your opponent will be a little bit out of your shooting range. The best weapons for pre-aiming are the ones that one-shot in head, so AK, Deagle, Scout, and of course AWP, but in that case you don't need to aim specifically for the head. Now the question is, how do we practice pre-aiming? I'm gonna share a little bit of my experience with you. I once met a guy who learned all of Nico's pre-fire Deagle spots on Mirage. He had level 10 Faceit, almost 3000 elo and average of like 22 or 23 kills, which is not insane but very decent. The main point is that 10 or 11 of those average kills were made with Deagle. Just imagine, half of your kills are coming from Deagle pre-fires. So I asked this guy how did he practice. He said that he watched every single POV demo of Nico playing Faceit Pugs on Mirage and just memorized his crosshair placement, movement and spots where he aims for when he's trying to kill someone with a pre-fire. Now let me tell you something. Okay, ready? Leave a like if you agree with me. It's boring to watch demos. I know, you can't say better, I know. I can agree that watching demos is very useful if you're trying to perfect your playstyle and learn something new, but I believe that you're gonna learn faster if you learn from your own experience. You can spend a lot of time watching how Nico prefires people with Deagle on Mirage, but what if you don't play Mirage? Imagine how many hours and demos you need to watch to learn prefires on all of the competitive maps. But HaiX, how do we practice prefires then? Well, thanks to YPRAC Prefire Maps on Steam. I believe that there is every single competitive map in the workshop, the links to them are gonna be in the description. Basically, what the map does is that it puts you in an in-game situation where you need to go, for example, from mid to B, and it places bots in locations where your enemy could be holding from. You need to kill all of the bots to move on to the next location. Trust me, just try playing this map for like 30 to 40 minutes, specifically doing strafing Deagle prefires, and in the next competitive game you will see a big difference in your prefire game, I guarantee that. Since there are quite a lot prefire spots to learn in all of the competitive maps, I would recommend you to first of all pick 3 main maps that you play and prioritize practicing on them, and when you feel comfortable and feel like you already remember most of the prefire spots on those maps, you can continue to expand your prefire map pool. Now, we talked about practicing, but there are a few more important factors about pre-aiming. First of all, if you're not gonna use what you were practicing in real game situations, you will never be able to improve. We practice it because we want to use it in real game situations. Even if you fail, don't forget that you earn respect points for trying it. You failed, learn from your mistake and continue moving forward. And the last factor to step up your pre-aim is to be confident. Most of the time it's the most important factor. If you're scared of something, you will never play at your full potential. If you're not confident, you're very limited and can play at like 30 or even less % of your actual skill. Confidence is actually one of the most important factors when it comes to playing CS, but it's a topic for another video. If you want me to make this video, let's try to get this one to 10,000 likes and then I'll make one for sure. But for now, that's all for today. I really appreciate you watching. Virgin Lord out.